Hi, my name is Brian English, forum name Hyperbytes, and in this module we're going to be looking at image sorting. If you recall, previously we created a modal, and within that, an image modal, and we created a repeat which displayed a list of those images which have been uploaded. What I'd like to do in this module is give you the ability to be able to sort those images so that you can choose the order in which the presentation will take place when you're on your final page. First thing we're going to have to do is make a minor modification to our database. So if we go to our page content and then we go down to our images, what I would like to do here is to just add a new field, and I'm going to call this order, and we're going to make that a numeric value. Make it an integer, and I'll just give it a default of 0. So let's commit that change. And there we have that change has now been committed. Now need to look at our main page data query. If you remember, we have our get single page data, and what I want to do is to first of all add to that order field, and I also want to order the images. Sorry, I'm in completely the wrong screen there. Sorting, I want to sort by order, and I want that to be ascending. In other words, image 0 will be first up to image 99, say, will be last. We also have a similar page data query there. Let's just make sure that we've done everything for completeness. Images, we're going to add our order field, and we're going to sort by order ascending. So we save that. Make sure we've saved that single page as well. Okay, so now we're going back to our page content page, and now what we need to do is look at how we're going to do the sorting. What we're going to do is we're going to insert a sortable table and use that table to do a database update, which will update the order of those fields. So if you recall, previously we had a form, and within that we had a repeat, and then we had to show all the images, and then we had our fields. First thing is that I want to take that form repeat out ultimately, because it's actually ideally should not be inside the form, but secondly we're not going to need that at all in our future iteration. So let's look at how we're going to do that. First thing I'm going to do is within this modal body, I'm going to add a flex container. That just allows us to lay the things out a little easier. And then we're going to, within that, I'm going to place a form. Give that a unique name. It's going to be form update order. We're going to make that a server connect form, and our server action that we're going to be pulling that data from is going to be our sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that because we haven't written that bit yet, so let's not worry about that. I'm just going to leave it as server action form, but I'm just going to leave it blank because we'll be coming back to update that in a moment. So we have our form, and now what we're going to do is I'm just going to pop a form repeat inside. I'm going to pop in a flex container, and then what we're going to do is first of all we're going to pop in an image, and that image will be the same image that we had within this repeat area here. So what I'll be able to do is to actually look at that repeat image. We can just pop into there, code, copy that. We're going to go into our image field there, our dynamic image source, and that should basically be the same. So put that in. What I've forgotten to do is our repeat. Of course, we must make that repeat on the data source. So remember, we're clicking a button, so we're using our single page data query data, and we're going to repeat it on the images within that. And of course, the really important thing is we need to make that sortable. We need to give that a handle. We're adding a class here. So because it's a class, we are preceding that with a dot, a period, whatever you want to call it. And you've got an animation time. I make that 500 milliseconds, so you've got about a half a second animation which will take place there. Just going to take the opportunity to hit the save there. Okay, so now we should have, if everything has gone well, a repeat showing those images. I'm just going to fire that up in the browser just to make sure that's working okay. Right, let's have a look by cell. There we see we have our images there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't at this stage obviously drag them, and you'll see why in a moment. So I'm just going to close that down. So now we need to make those images sortable, and we do that actually by adding a button. So see here we have our structure, we have our order update form, our repeat, our flex container and image. What I want to do is add, before that image, I want to add a button. And this is what we're going to use to drag those images up and down. We're going to give that a unique name. I'm going to call that button sorter. And really important is you must add that class of handle to the classes in that. I'm going to add a font awesome icon, and I'm going to use the bars. Font awesome icon, and I'll just give that a bit more size. I'm going to get rid of the text because I don't need that anymore. So what we have now is our font awesome icon and our image alongside that. We can actually now get rid of that old repeat there that we showed the images formerly using. So let's just get rid of that image column and repeat. So we just have our form upload. That's redundant code now. And if we now save that and fire it up in the browser, we'll see now that we have those sorting handles appear. There's our images, and we can actually sort those images just by dragging those handles. So what we're going to do now, we're going to have to look at how we're going to reflect those changes that we're going to do visually here into our database. And that's really straightforward. First thing I just want to do, very noticeable there, is that those images could do with a little bit of spacing in them. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of bottom padding to that. Okay, so now what we obviously are using a form, and we haven't actually added any fields now or at all yet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to add now a text input. I'm actually going to duplicate that, And what those are going to hold is, first of all, the unique ID of that particular images record within the images table, and also the order position that is going to be stored in. So we're going to look at a field called named order and a field named, if I remember rightly, image ID. I'm just going to double check that. Let's look in there. There's our images. Yes, image ID and order. A bit of a typo there. We would normally make these hidden fields, but just for the short term I would like to leave them visible, just so you can see exactly what's happening. What we need to do now is to set the values of those. I'm just giving those some recognizable IDs as well, and we need to populate those. So what we need to do now is to give the attributes input value, and we want to give that the index of the repeat. In other words, the position within that repeat that particular record is. And we also need to have the ID of that image, because they'll need to know which image needs to be updated with that new order information. So if I now save that, I'm going to fire that up again in a browser. Fire that up. Now we see there's our orders of our images, and there are our image IDs side by side. So you'll always see this column will be 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., because all of it, these are arrays at the end of the day, so they will always start with an offset of 0, and these just happen to be the unique IDs of your forms. So let's hide them now. Now you can see what we're actually doing there. And of course, the one thing we're missing from our form at this stage is we need to have finally a button. After that flex container, we need a submit button, or a submit section. So I'm just going to pop a button in there. I'm going to call that sort. And we're going to make that a blue button, let's say, and that's going to be a submit. If ever you're not sure whether your button's in the form or not, if you close the form you should see the button disappear as well. So we know that button is inside that form. So what we want now is, when you click that sort button, we want that to submit the form, and then we want a server action to update the order of those fields. So we're going to go back into our workflows. We're in our page data images section. I'm going to create an API, and I'm going to call it sort image. I'm just going to pop back into there, and I'm just going to make sure, form update order is what we called it. So if I go into there, first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our linked page. So we go into our views, into our admin page, our page content page, and within that we can see our update order, and we're going to import our inputs from there. First thing you need to notice is that, of course, that's form repeat 1, which is our repeat on the images, is in fact an array. So when we come to update our images, then we need to use a database action, and we need to use a database multi-update. That is going to be based on the contents of that form repeat. And if we look in that, now we're going to update images order. That's the only one we actually need to update, and we're going to give that the value of our, sorry, that's just opened up on the wrong page, our order field within our repeat. And the condition will be the image ID is equal to the image ID, and again that image ID is the image ID within that repeat. And you can see that's been automatically selected because that's in bold. So now what we should find is that if we go back into our page, we go back into that form, we can now give it that server action sort image that we wanted it to run. And when that runs, what we need to do is, obviously that will save that information. I will update this image order, and then we just make sure that that change is reflected within the page itself. So if we go to server connect on success, we're just going to have to refresh that image. In fact, you know, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to close the modal. So we've got modal ID image hide. Okay, so let's have a look and see what happens then. Probably got a mistake in here somewhere, but let's hope I don't. Really should remember to hit that remember me button, so don't log out every time. I'm going into buy sell. I'm going into there. Now obviously got that sort button in the wrong place because that's inside the repeat, which it shouldn't be. So we got 4 of them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 2 identical ones followed by the 2 identical ones. And that doesn't seem to work. I think I need to fix this little repeat issue. I need to get that button outside the repeat. Save that. Let's update, buy sell, image header, and then let's just shift them around, hit sort, and you see now those images are sorted as they should be. If I put them back to the order they were before now, picture, so they alternate, click sort. If we go back in now, we'll see that those images are sorted. So that allows us to sort our images. If I was to add another image into there just so we can play about a little more, let's see, we'll just add a picture of a house, actually building I should say, probably a better way of describing it. That's there. We now have that building. You see has been sort of randomly put in because it's always going to take a default of 0. It will always be put in near the top of the list, and I actually want to make that the main one. Click that, sort, and you see that we have that correct image just to show that it is persistent. Buy sell images, we'll see that's there. So that's how you sort your images, and we'll be using that quite heavily because it's important that we know which image is going to be the primary image when we're displaying it on the pages. And you're probably delighted to know that in the next section we're actually going to start building those pages, those public pages to which the public will have access. So thanks for joining me, and I hope you will join me in the next module soon.